If you go down to the woods today, what beautiful fabric you will find. This is our one-day special and it is an amazing one. Got the details up on the screen. We're going for a trip into the woods today. And do you know who's coming with me? Only Jennie Raymond.
Hello.
How are you?
Shall we have a picnic in the woods
Oh
today?
yes, jam sandwiches please.
Oh, jam sandwiches.
I love it.
Oh, all right. We'll have jam sandwiches
can I first say, look at you, my goodness.
Well, the reason for it, I was prattling to the Ash Valley quilters, you see, and hello all you quilters. And it was in the car and I thought, hey, come on, you usually see me wearing a waistcoat and looking very scruffy. So this is sort of me poshed up, you know, flaunting my stuff.
I feel incredibly underdressed. But what an amazing dress. Beautiful. Thank you. Now, talking about beautiful outfits, beautiful fabrics.
Oh, when I opened the box, I thought this is so me. It is lovely designs, lovely colours, fabulous cotton as well. Very, very nice to work with, which is why I was inspired. I've only had the fabrics about 3.5 days, so I have been working my socks off. So I've made the bit of bargello, I made the quilt top, I made a cushion, I made a bag. But it was just so nice to work with.
Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous fabrics. Now you can see the details on the screen. So all of these 16 fabrics that we're sharing with you, American size fat quarters, coming to you with a £10 saving. Absolutely beautiful range of fabrics. Now there are an additional 8 fabrics that you might like to consider, and these will be added in to give you the complete collection from Katrinka. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Yes.
Katrinka, beautiful name. And just to give you a little insight as you're looking at these, the Into the Woods collection from Katrinka takes inspiration from the beautiful nature surroundings of her studio in South Carolina. She developed such a fascination of nature, and I think you can see that beautifully within these. This collection was created by hand painting technique called eco printing. And I have to say, Jennie, with this one, it's almost like you've got photorealism with a mixture of batiks.
Very much so.
Different,
yes, and the lovely soft colours, the way she shaded everything, and every piece is different. There are different leaves, different ways of creating the entire design. It's a lovely, lovely collection to have. It'll blend in with so many things. So, you know, if you get the whole lot and think, I perhaps don't want to use those all together, but you could use them with your tints, your tones, your shades, your batiks. They'd work well particularly. And of course they have the autumnal colours, and being an autumnal person, I just loved those. Gorgeous. Golds and browns, and then the greens and things, which is so sort of autumny. I know we're getting to the end of it, you know, the summer, what summer, but the autumn is coming, and just look at those autumn shades.
Absolutely beautiful. So much interest. Every square inch that you've got this fat quarter, you will have interest in there. So whether it's the leaves, whether it's the foliage, whether it's kind of little berries, little elements in there, you are going to be able to pick out, and the most incredible range of colours. Now, with regards to these, obviously you've got your different colour groupings. Now they come in kind of little fours. Can I show you kind of the whole collection? Now this, of course, the one-day special. You've got 16 fat quarters, but at the bottom of the screen we're adding in the additional fabrics, which I'll tell you about in a few moments. I just wanted to show you this because this is the entire collection. So if you want to get hold of the entire collection with your fat quarters, so you've got each and every one of these beautiful colours, 24 pieces of fabric in total, then these are the details you need. Obviously the one-day special that you can see at the side of your screen, and then down at the bottom the additional 8. So they are absolutely beautiful, each and every one of them. And if you're going for both of them together, you will have every one of those gorgeous fabrics that the lovely Katrinka has designed, and they are gorgeous. She's put her own spin on these and digitally manipulated them to make sure that you are getting the best out of these, to be able to use them in so many different ways. And I think that's what you've shown. You say you've only had these a few days, but for what you've actually created in that short amount of time.
I just had to sew. And this is, I mean, it's a basic classic patchwork design. It's the maple leaf block, which you and I know particularly well.
Beautiful.
And what I wanted to do is I used 8 of the fat quarters, because you can get them in 2 sets, in sets of 4. Okay. So I use the 4 greens and the 4 autumnal ones, and it's the leaf sort of really through the year. Yes. So the leaf in spring, summer, and then gradually the leaf gets browner and browner and browner. So I mixed and matched a very simple design to create that.
Isn't that fabulous? Lovely story going, as you say there, from spring right the way through to autumn. And again, not using all fabrics, because it's a case you can choose the different elements. That's the thing that I love, Jennie, because what you've done is you put finished samples together, depending on whether we want to go for just the one-day special, 2 one-day specials, the complete collection.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. So that is half the one-day special.
Wow.
So you could, in actual fact, it didn't use all of the fabrics. And I will show everyone when I show you how to make the block, how much fabric I had left from my fat quarters.
And it's lovely because you limited that because of the colour palette that you wanted to work with.
Yes, absolutely deliberately. And again, round the border, again, I tried to go round the border. Again, so the leaves going through spring and then obviously into autumn, etc., etc. And it was a real delight to do. And then the other piece, the batiki one, or the bargello one, now that uses the additional 8. And this was put together rather rapidly, and there were comments about the bit on the right-hand side. It looked like an afterthought, and I should have had a chair there. Well, I did bung the black on a bit quick, I have to confess, and I haven't finished stitching it on.
I still love it, though.
Thank you.
It looks amazing, and those silhouettes sit beautifully on top.
Yes, and it just is a bit of bargello using those additional 8 fat quarters, and it didn't take all of the fat quarters, apart from the border. The border I did use every bit of the fat quarter.
So that's not touching the one-day special at all, that's
No.
just using those additional fabrics, which are now to the side of your screen there. So if you're wanting those 425, 647, if you're wanting those. I come back into shot there. I mean, it's amazing what you can do. Got projects that have been created with just a couple of fat quarters, but of course it's the size of the fabric that is the key thing with these. So let me open up one of these and show you. They are absolutely beautiful pieces and such brilliant value for money. Now I need to talk about extended delivery with regards to this one as well, because as you can see on your screen there, we have got extended delivery, but it's worth every single day of those weights, and it's going to be the 2nd of October that this is dispatched to you. But what a beautiful array of fabrics. Opening these up, you can see you've got that kind of pastel tone in the backdrop with this one, but the next one alongside it, Jenny, you've got that much darker tone,
and
much more moodier.
Very much more moody, and a completely different design. So it picks out very, very different colours, and the two will go together remarkably well. The whole lot mix and match just how you want them. So if you're a pink and purple person, you can do your pinks and purples, and if you buy the whole lot, you can then give your goldy ones to me, thank you, and the green ones to me, thank you.
And do you know what? These are really refreshing, because sometimes we bring you lots of fabrics here at the craft store, and beautiful fabrics as well, but sometimes they're kind of like a repeat, and often we'll see things like a ditzy print or a floral print, but you don't always want to work with those, and sometimes when you chop into them, you lose the definition of the pattern. But with these, it doesn't matter whether you're getting a small piece that you're working with or a larger piece, you are still going to get that essence of the design there. You're not going to lose anything in the process.
Well, on exactly that, literally 5 minutes before the show did, I was using up a little bit because my phone needed a new cover, and so this was mobile phone cover made in, I think, about 5.5 minutes flat.
Wow.
So I've used the colours there, and this is just a snippet, just a bit.
Isn't it lovely?
All I need now to do is to put some form of fastening on the front, and it'll hold my phone beautifully.
I love it.
But you can use little bits, you can use big bits, so those little snippets really can be. I mean, the log cabin bag behind me, if we come to the log cabin bag behind me.
This is beautiful.
There, that's just using 1.5 inch strips. So you could blend them together, you can use the bits, you could make a bigger project, you could use a fat quarter for the back, as I've done on the back of this bag. I used the pink one just purely and utterly.
Oh wow, look
and
at that.
You know, kapow.
We've got orders for mobile phone cases. That's the first order with that pink on the back there for Kim in the gallery.
Okay, okay. Well, in actual fact, she might be in luck, because I was going to demonstrate it later, and I am actually using a pink.
Well, she's not in tomorrow, so if you could fix that for us, she will love you forever.
Right.
And I love that you've got a bit of reverse applique going on here as well.
No, this is an
not?
idea. This is a tucks and twiddles idea.
So it is.
Yes, this is from the Sew Pieces book. This one.
Lovely.
Which you will actually find on the internet, you know, if you go into the show
It's
things.
in the brand section and
so
everything,
this
yeah.
again, I will show you how it's done. So it's using the blue collection of fat quarters with one there underneath, these 4 on top, a different one for the border and another one for the back.
Beautiful.
And it's just absolutely cracking fabric, and you could put it anywhere. You know, it will go with anything. It's boys, girls, you name it.
Exactly. And it's also nice as well, if you've got a colour scheme, you're making something for somebody, you might not necessarily know the exact prints of their curtains or the print of the sofa. These are very forgiving colours. As long as you know the colour scheme, then anything you create using this is going to fit with any decor at all. It doesn't matter what style of fabric they've got in their home already. Something from that colour palette from within this range is going to look beautiful, and such an affordable way for you to get hold of your fabrics as well. One Day Special is made up of your 100% cotton fat quarters, American size fat quarters, and you are getting a huge array. 16 of them coming to you for that phenomenal price there of £53.96. Now the beauty is you can spread the cost over 2 payments if you so choose, and of course the beauty of that means you can add in anything else alongside them. Maybe you want to get inspiration from Jennie herself with the book at the bottom of your screen, or maybe you're wanting to add in those additional 8 fat quarters to give you the entire range, all 24 of them coming to you, which a lot of you are doing, which it really makes me happy because you're getting every little element from this one. And often fabrics, when you work with them, you kind of get a feeling of a fabric. And I love the story that Jennie shared with us there with that fabulous quilt where she took the leaf and took it through the series of the year with the different colour changes. And of course, because you've got the full range, if you go for both sets, you could do that absolutely to perfection and make something on a much larger scale. So with regards to these, if you're wanting to go for your 8 pieces, of course the Bargello quilt that we saw with those gorgeous silhouettes of the trees, that was created using this set alone, and at £31.98, a very affordable way for you to get hold of them. Now if you want to go for both of those together, it comes to £85.94, which of course you can spread the cost. Put it over 2 payments. It means that your first Flexi buy payment is going to be around £42, £42.97 to be precise, but you will get all 24 fat quarters, and oh my goodness, you are going to have so much fun. I will warn you though, for probably the first couple of months you'll just sit and look at them, because that's what we do, isn't it? We look at those fabrics. Now let me just lay that down so as I don't disappear behind it. But these are gorgeous fabrics.
They were so nice. I mean, I didn't have sort of 2 months to do it, but I must confess, sort of looking at the bits that are left, I'm going to hang on to those bits that are left, and they will go in my stash for use on a special occasion. But I've been doing a lot of landscapes recently.
Oh,
I'm
perfect.
sort of into landscapes.
Yes.
So these are going to be ideal for the landscapes because you've got the heathery tones, you've got the blue tones, you've got the skies, you've got your forests, you've got the ground, the earth. So it's all there. For anybody who just wants to explore and enjoy nature.
That's a really good point. I mean, if you're into your textile art and your scenes, I mean, you've almost got your underwater tones there, you've got your beach tones there, you've got your tropical sunsets with these as well. You really are going to have such a wonderful time working with these, and we've got some incredible solid colour tones that if you're wanting to do things like the silhouettes that we saw on Jennie's project, then you can get hold of those as well. But absolutely beautiful throughout. I'm going to put those away just for a few moments. I might read to you a little bit more about the lovely Katrinka a little bit later on. Oh, that's like a map. My dad, bless him, he'd be shouting at me if he was around. Bless him, because I could never fold up a map the right way. And you've got to get the creases in the right place, haven't you, when you're folding it? There you go. I did it.
There you go.
Details on your screen if you're wanting to take advantage of those additional 8, but you will find them on the website. The reason we're going to look at the website is because if you want your larger cuts, then we can help you with those as well. So all the gorgeous fabrics that we've been sharing with you, obviously you've got your fat quarters, but if you want a larger cut of fabric, then you have got them available as a pick and mix and half meters as well. That reiterates just what brilliant value for money you are getting with your one-day special, because normally you'd be paying the equivalent of £13.99 for a full metre, which of course makes it a fabulous value bundle with regards to your one-day special, and you get little bits of everything. But of course, if you want to work on a larger project, you'll need that larger cut, so we're accommodating for those as well. We'll keep you updated with regards to those, but we don't have an endless supply of these, so please do get in early, and already some of them are looking incredibly vulnerable, so please do not miss out on those. But you can see those wonderful names.
But aren't the names super?
Some gorgeous
River
names.
Birch, Sage
Wasabi.
Water,
Oh, Wasabi Cosmic
Lavender
Clover.
Eucalyptus.
Beautiful names, aren't they?
Ooh, Dream Blue Cosmic Clover.
Oh, Jennie, you do it so much better than I do.
Oh. Whispering Oak. How about Whispering Oak? Okay.
We might have to get a bucket of water in a
Dogwood
moment.
Days, wow. Come on in, it's Dogwood Days with Whispering Oak and Eucalyptus. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Now, you're going to choose any 2 of those, and you're going to get a full metre, obviously 2 half metres, for £13.99. So there you go. What a beautiful array of fabrics. Of course, on the website, you'll find everything else that we've been talking about. So your additional extra wide fabrics for your backing of your quilts, those are on there as well. But we're going to concentrate on the one-day special with the first demonstration. So we're going to head over to Jennie. What have you got planned?
Well, I'm going to do the block we've got here. So if we can take the camera over here to stare at one of these blocks, it matters not. So I have used the one-day special green elements here. And I've also mixed it with the solid we've got, which was the beigey solid. Its name, I'm afraid, I know not. And given the border for the sashing, I've done with the brown solid.
Oh, we've got that on the show as well, haven't we?
We have that. We have both the brown on the show, we have the beige on the show, probably a stone colour or oatmeal colour. And I used black for the stalks going down there. So how did I do it? It's a really simple block, and that block was 9 inches. When you understand the size of the block, you can actually make it any size you like. It's a block that is what's basically a 9 patch, so it's 3 by 3. I cut from the fabrics that I was using 3.5 inch strips. And just to show you how much I had left, this is what I had left of all of the 8 fabrics I chose to use. So I've actually made that quilt out of there, and I've got a 7.5 inch by full width of the fabric strip left. I could have made more blocks. Time was my enemy. I just couldn't get enough blocks made in the time. So plenty of fabric left over for another project. How was it done? Well, 3.5 inch strips were cut. And the reason for cutting 3.5 inch strips was I actually used the easy angle template by Simplicity. Now, if you don't have one of these, then you would be cutting 3 7/8 inch squares. They would produce exactly the same size that I'm working with. The only reason for working with this template is it does actually save 3/8 of an inch on every strip you cut. How the template works is you take the 3.5 inch strip, place the template on the fabric so that the 3.5 inch line is aligned with the top of the material, and you simply cut. And I cut literally a whole collection of these fabrics, and then I just mix them up together. You then flip the template over and cut again. So we have a half square triangle. As I said before, if you don't have one of these templates, then you could cut 3 7/8 inch squares and simply divide them in 2, comme ça. In addition to that, you're going to need your other colour, and here was where I used the oatmeal one. So we need the same sized triangles. Now this is to make a 9 inch block. If you wanted to make it as a 12 inch block, you'd cut 4 7/8 inch squares, okay? Fairly simple to work out. The squares were made up by taking 2 half square triangles and putting them together. Now I found my machine preferred to go in on a pointy end. So because this is a solid, I could turn it over and put the 2 pointy bits together. If you were using a print, then just jiggle them round till you get the pointy ends together. Some machines like going in the flat end, some machines like going in the pointy end. You use a 1/4 inch seam allowance and simply sew down the diagonal edge. So I'm sewing off my little donkey down the diagonal edge. And don't forget chain piecing. Chain piecing is where you pick up the next bit, stick it under. Don't waste threads. Don't cut the threads in between. Take up the next piece, arrange it, right sides together with your fabric. I'm inserting the pointed end of my triangles, stitching down. And to make one block, you'll need 3 of these pieces. When you get to the end, you'll need another little donkey, or you can cut your donkey off the beginning. If you don't know about donkeys, you haven't been watching these shows enough. Okay, and then what will happen, I will press my seam open and flat, simply because it spreads the bulk and takes away from the problem of getting light onto light and dark onto dark, etc., etc. So to make the block, you're going to need 3 of these. So here we have 3 already made up. In fact, I've got 4. You'll need, in addition, a 3.5 inch square. So a plain 3.5 inch square will go there. I'm just using literally random colours. We put 1 half square triangle there with the colour to the square, 1 half square triangle there. You need a further 3.5 inch square, which will go in the middle. We then repeat this. I'm sorry, you need 4 of these. I did say 3. I beg your pardon, I had it wrong. And 2 more 3.5 inch squares. So the entire design is 3.5 inch squares, 3 of them, 3.5 inch square there in your solid, your contrasting colour, and 4 sets of half square triangles. The corner there is another square with the stalk on it. Now, when it came to doing the stalk, I thought, okay, I could take 2 half square triangles and stitch a bit of black in between, or I could make it by perhaps a simpler method. And the simpler method was to take a strip of fabric that I actually cut on the bias. So taking the black, let me move that out the way there, I cut a 4-inch strip or so off, just simply so a sort of belt and braces a little bit more, and cut a bias, cut the fabric on the bias. To do that easily.
It's just joining us. The bias is the diagonal cut, isn't it? Of the fabric,
it is indeed. For anyone who hasn't got a ruler that cuts on the bias, you can do it with your regular ruler. Simply find the 45-degree line, place it somewhere along the edge of the fabric, either along the side or along the top. This puts the ruler, as Hayley quite rightly said, on the diagonal, on the bias at 45 degrees, and cut.
And that gives us the ability that if we do need to bend it or anything like that, it will bend without crinkling.
It stretches. I would flip the fabric round, and from that I cut a 1-inch strip. So I now have a 1-inch bias strip. All that I did to make the stalk was to press both sides of the 1-inch strip inwards to touch in the middle. The stalk was then laid in the centre of that 3.5-inch square and stitched down. To stitch it down, you could choose to do it by hand, you could choose to do it on the machine, you could choose to do it with something like the blind hem stitch. I'm going to use a little buttonhole stitch on this machine. If I can remember what number it is. There we go. And literally just sew down the edge. Now technically, you should use thread that matches your fabric, the applique fabric. Let's make that stitch length a bit longer, we'll get there faster. There we go.
And of course this is utilising the solids that we've got on the show as well. I'll show you all the different solids in just a few moments, but obviously the black is one of the solids that Jennie's chosen to use. But we've got so many beautiful fabrics that will work alongside the gorgeous one-day special fabrics that we've been talking about. So I'll show you those in the flesh in a few moments.
I've got to pull that round the thread. That's pulling my foot off. Let's stick that up there. There we go. Oh, because that wasn't a rude word, I can assure you.
Other garments are available.
Other garments are available. Oh, Hayley, talking about the fabric, I just sort my machine out, please.
No problem. Just very quickly, just while Jennie's just sorting that out, these are the fabrics I was talking about. Now, of course, Jennie's utilising the solid black, which is always a beautiful one to work with. It's fabulous to kind of add that definition between two different pieces of fabric, and perfect when you're doing things like applique, as Jennie is doing. But then you've got all the other colours as well. So you've got your gorgeous kind of stone tone with this one. Beautiful fabric throughout. Then the black that we've just touched on. You've got your white there, lovely crisp white there. Then we start working our way towards those autumnal tones. Now this one here is a very deep brown, beautiful. It's almost black, but if you don't want that kind of cool, black can be quite a draining and cool tone, can't it really, if you're not careful? So using the warmer tones here of that espresso, it gives you the definition of the darkness, but also it's got a little bit of a warm touch to it. Then the next brown to that one is your soil. And then you've got that gorgeous juniper. What a beautiful green there. Love this next one. It's almost like an Air Force blue, this one. Absolutely amazing. I think, are we calling this one galactic? Oh, let's see what it says when we turn around on the screen. And then the final one that you've got there is that kind of creamy tone with this on. Oh, galactic. Galactic, oh, that's interesting. An etching stone. Now, very quickly, I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time because we need to go back to Jennie, but you can see how these will work so beautifully with those fabrics. So if you're going for your more autumnal tones, it might be that you want to go towards the stone colours, the blues, and obviously you've got those gorgeous greens in there, so they all work really well. So you can see how they will work alongside your one-day special. But 185500 if you're wanting to go for any of those. How are we doing over
right,
there,
we have sorted the machine up, put the foot back on, and no longer mentioning other parts, other anatomy, or etc., etc. Anyway, so the basic block is your 9 patches. There are our 9 patches now. This block has the strip of bias applied to it, and all I'm going to do is just trim the excess off. It's always worth making that strip a little bit longer, just in case. Great believer in belt and braces. And then you're going to sew it together. Now, I'm not going to sew it together, but allow me to give you a little bit of advice. If I was sewing this block, and indeed when I sewed all the blocks on the quilt behind, I sewed it not as 3 rows, because if you do 3 rows, you've got to line those seams up and those seams up. I actually did it as 2 together, and that makes a square, and then I joined those 2 together and put it on the end. That junction then is very simple. Then I had to have a row. Now, another top tip is that if you can, and when I'm, say, stitching these 2 together, is rather than start at the thicker end, where the points are, I will turn it over and sew from the thin end off the thicker end. That means you've got less fabric underneath the presser foot, and you're less likely to the foot to screw up as it stitches. The other little thing that one can do is, if you keep the ears on, is as you sew down the seam, So let's just put this back to my machine, doing the seam allowance at the right size. As you sew down the edge of the fabric, you're starting on a thinner layer and coming off on the thicker layer, whereas if you start on the thicker layer, sometimes it, as I said, it just sort of screws up underneath the machine. Now, come further down, take a small pair of sharp scissors, and if you hold the points with your scissors slightly open, that will keep them nice and still, and it means that you won't drift as you come off the bottom of the block, and hopefully you will have a more accurate seam allowance at the end. So let's just take it off.
Come back in with your little thread catcher at the end there, your little
That's
donkey.
right. And when you open it out, you should have a clear seam allowance at the top of the half square triangle between there and the raw edge. And it's now you cut the ears off. If I'm happy with the seam, then remove the ears. That's from the fabric, not your own. Okay, and then one will go on and stitch those together and attach it to the block.
And isn't it fabulous? So you can see how one of those blocks come together, and then the beauty is you start putting them all together and away you go. And of course, as Jenny explained at the beginning, she's kind of gone from the spring tones of those greens where they're all fresh and green and ready for the season ahead. And then as you work your way through the year, those little elements start coming in where you've got those autumnal colours coming through until the green is replaced by those gorgeous golds and fabulous kind of peachy tones that you've got, where you've got the autumnal colours coming in, which are so beautiful at the moment out there. So of course this might be something that you are creating using your one day special. Maybe you're taking your inspiration from the other colours, maybe you're going for more of a tropical look, or maybe you're creating a scene. As Jenny quite rightly said, these are beautiful for building up landscapes, doing a little bit of textile art and really having fun with. The amount of colour that you've got with these is phenomenal, and the beauty is they are all American size fat quarters, giving you a lot of scope for your £53.96. Each one of these is a beautiful fabric that you'll be able to use in a whole host of different ways, and the beauty is you're getting them all with the ability to spread the cost over 2 payments. We're looking at a fabulous range, Into the Woods by Katrinka, and Katrinka has done 24 fabrics in total. So within your one day special you've got those 16, but there are an additional 8 that you can add in if you're wanting to give you those entire ranges. Those were the ones that I showed you on the board a few moments ago, and these are all of them. So if you're wanting to do something like a bargello and work your way through all of these, then you can do. Absolutely beautiful fabrics, as you can see. Katrinka says that she loves the surprise and delight that occurs when unwrapping the bountiful pieces created by the process of making these gorgeous kind of petals and leaves. And that's what she's actually done. It's kind of like an eco printing where there's a mixture of kind of realism and also the graphic element with these ones, digitally manipulating each of the prints to make sure that the recolouring is an extraordinary colour palette. And I think that's the beauty with regards to this one. She captures it so well, and I love the title that she's given to the collection, Into the Woods. And I think that's the thing, you've got kind of celebrating all things nature, haven't you, with these. So it's all of the full leaves, the partial leaves, the little bits of elements that you've got within here, the little twigs, everything is featuring within this collection, and absolutely beautiful. Now, rapidly approaching 10% of the stock of your, 20% of the stock, my goodness, of your one day special has gone. So of course the deal that we've got for you, this is running right the way through until 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, if stock permits us to run that long with it. So you've got your 16 fat quarters featuring with these, but if you want them in sets of 4, you'll see that there's naturally a kind of set of 4 repeated 4 times. So you've got your greens, you've got your gorgeous orange tones, your purples and pinks, and then finally going into your blues. Absolutely gorgeous. So if you're liking those, if you don't necessarily want them as an entire collection, and I know there's certain people that you might not like greens, you might not like the orange tones, you might be more of a pink and purple and blue kind of person, well, you can go for those, as you can see, as your sets of 4 for £15.99. Now don't forget, if you are going for them as a collection, that's where you will get that saving though, so do consider that before you check out your basket if you're going for them. But it's all about options, and that's why we have broken them down into your 4 different elements. In addition to those, you've got your 8. Now the 8 that we've got here, along with the 16 that we've just spoken of, gives you the entire collection that we just spoke of before. So if you're wanting to complete the complete collection and you want them all, then the details at the bottom of the screen of your one day special need to go into your basket alongside the details that are on the side. So 425647 will give you those final 8, completing all 24 fabrics. Now of course they're going to be the same size, they're fat quarters again. again, but it shows when you open these up the beauty that you've got within these. They've kind of got a mixture, and I think that it's such a clever fusion here where you've got the nature elements and the kind of the depicting little elements of leaves, but then almost like a batik quality with some of these as well.
And they are lovely to work with. They're a lovely soft cotton fabric, obviously 100% cotton. And they sew nicely, they're nice to handle. I just did enjoy using them.
And the beauty is dependent on where it's cut on the bolt, depends on the elements that you see. So when you're looking at that piece there, and this is quite funny for me actually, because I'm sat looking at this and I can see very much leaves featuring in here. But when you look at it from a distance, you don't always see those elements coming up. But here, you can kind of see the leaf with the formation, the veins running through it. And it kind of, it's almost like you're seeing shapes. It's like when you look at clouds in the sky, isn't it? You
Very
see
much
different
so.
shapes.
Yes, you've got this rather lovely sort of hazy effect.
Yes, yeah.
The colours blending in and bleeding slightly into each other.
Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. They are beautiful fabrics throughout. Now we've had an email in from our lovely Paola. Paola, you're supposed to, you're not at work, you're supposed to be resting for the evening, but she couldn't help herself. She had to tune in for the one-day special. She does like her fabrics and she's loving these. And she's commending you on your outfit as well.
Oh,
our lovely
thank her very much indeed. Thank you, Paola. I'm not wearing it tomorrow, Paola. Paola should be back to regular tomorrow because this is Saturday night special, all right?
So thank you, Paola. It's good to have your company during this. But absolutely beautiful fabrics throughout. And you can see those leaves are very much featuring in that particular one there as well. So gorgeous fabrics. If you fancy those 8, then the details are on your screen. But don't forget, it's all about choices, isn't it? So you've got your fat quarters, your one-day special, your additional 8, your sets of 4s and your half meters as well. So it's all down to you which way you want to go for them. But don't forget to kind of stretch out and eke out the usability. Those fabulous solids are perfect to work alongside these. And these again are absolutely beautiful to work with. So whichever of the ways you are getting hold of your fabrics, then the key thing is you're going to be able to use these solids alongside them. So bringing in your different fabrics, you will sometimes want that little separation, and the separation makes the elements stand out more.
It does indeed, because it absolutely, as again, when you come back to the maple leaf quilt, putting that solid in separates the colours and just gives them that more zing. It identifies them, it gives them sort of emphasis, adds to the dynamic optimums of the design, or whatever you like to call it. So yes, you do need the solids, you need the plains, you need the sort of the negative space, and those colours will complement the wonderful Into the Woods fabrics.
Definitely. Now I've just grabbed one of the fat quarters, the additional 8 that we were talking about, to show you how beautifully these solids work alongside. So this particular fabric, you can see you've got a whole range of different colours featuring in here. So the stone would work well because it's picking out those lighter tones. The solid black, that works with anything, to be honest, absolutely perfect. The white, again, even those little highlights, you can see it emphasises those areas. When you move your fabric into a different area, certain elements will kind of sit back, certain elements will come forward, depending on how you're working. Then of course you've got your espresso, bringing out that deeper, darker tone that you can find right in the depths of the design. Then you've got your lighter tones there with the soil. The greens, naturally with this one, I would almost say I'd shy away from the greens, but as I look at it, it kind of shows you little elements of green that you've kind of got tucked away in here. So all of these different colours will work so well. I think that's the beauty with these. And again, if you're wanting to get hold of them, you've got all your different choices featuring there, and you can add them in alongside your one-day special, your sets of 4, your half meters, whichever way you're choosing to go for them. But you are going to get a full metre, and you're looking at £13.98. Very useful, Moda, naturally beautiful fabric to work with. 185500 if you're wanting to go for those. But can we go large? Because it's not just about a beautiful front to your project, it's about a beautiful back as well. And this is where those extra wide fabrics are just so useful to have. Now these are always popular because it's the easy way to back a quilt, isn't it, Jenny? Having a wide fabric.
And you've got how we've got it on the screens now? Have we got? Oh, we've got 80 inches by 108. So that is going to do your double bed easy peasy. So 80 inches by 108, so you've got, what, 9 feet wide?
Yes, yeah, that's right, yeah.
180.
Oh gosh, now you asked me to do maths.
Yes.
I can't do my maths.
6'6" by,
which is kind of like your king size,
yes,
isn't it? Your
yes,
6 foot.
Yes.
Yes,
so that's going to back, and you need the backings. Okay, so this is a very good quality fabric. It's free spirit. You've got I was given the grunge. There's one that says it's got the grunge in there, the stony one.
Oh, I don't know if we've got grunge here.
Yes, it's that one there with the stony one.
That one there?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right.
That was the grungy one.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's kind of got that grunge look to it. Yeah, we're
That's
not actually
right.
calling it grunge, but I know what you mean, that grunge look, yes.
And then the others have got slightly little print in them.
They are
so
really
no,
nice.
brilliant to have.
The
and a
white
really
is
nice
quite-
big piece.
The white, I think, is quite a plain white, a nice solid white if you wanted that. Then, of course, as you say, they're the cream. You've kind of got that almost like a distressed look in there. The two kind of blue tones that we've got, which I'm not sure what we're calling them. So are we calling it purple? Are we really? Oh, I don't know. I'd say no, it's more of a blue tone, really.
Yes, yes, I would have said it was blue.
Then you've got that gorgeous, almost like a teal, that aqua colour, so definitely. And the leaves, I'm guessing we're talking autumnal leaves with regard to that kind of burgundy tone that you've got there with these. Now, I will open one of these up in a few moments just to show you the size of these. But
Well, I've actually got one.
Have you got one
Yes,
there, Jenny? Because
I
I know
have
this is
one
going to
here.
take two people. So if you throw over
I'm going
one
to throw over
corner
your
to
end
me,
to
and then
you.
we can stretch this out and show you, because they're absolutely huge, these pieces. So, oh, it's like shake the bed, shake the bed. Right, okay, so here we go. So you can see this is why when you're working, when you're creating a quilt, it looks like we're doing some sort of magic trick, isn't it? We'll drop this down and all the set will have disappeared. So you can see, obviously we can't show you the drop, but as I'm holding that and Jenny's holding that, it's going down to the floor now. So it's going down to kind of, you're looking at well, yeah, a good 6 foot drop there, aren't you, with regards to ours. So this one is the cream. So this is huge. So if you are looking at creating the back to a quilt, it's always easier if you can do it as a complete piece of fabric. Whether it's a quilt that you're creating with the one day special, the fabrics that we've got on the shows, or whether you've got a project waiting to be quilted, then this is beautiful. And you're so right, the weight of it is beautiful.
Yes, it is. So you've got 9 feet by 6'6". It's going to easily cover any bed.
That's it. And usually you would just leave it as it is, and then lay your quilt with your wadding, obviously making your sandwich, ready for you to quilt those layers together. So if you're working on a smaller quilt, you could cut this down, but if you are working on a larger quilt, something like a king size quilt, then you want that entirety of fabric that you've got there to give you that true result. And it's a brilliant one because you've got so many different colours that you've got within this one. Jenny, thank you so much for that.
And of course, if you're sending it off to be one arm, you'll be long arm quilted.
Yes.
Your long arm quilter is not going to want bits and pieces on her backing
That's very
fabric. She's
true,
going to want
actually,
this
yeah.
all one big piece.
That's
Now I've
indeed.
got the job of folding it up.
Did you see what I did there? Did you see what I did there, Jenny? Oh, not as green as I'm cabbage looking. So yes, if you're wanting your larger pieces of fabric, then we've got lots of choice, as you can see, with regards to these. So going from your leaves, your autumnal leaves, or red as we've called it on the screen now, which I think is better. It kind of depicts it, doesn't it, better. It's got little kind of bubbles of colour in there as well, almost like a burgundy tone. So we're calling that one red now. Then we're moving our way across, and this one we're calling aqua, which I think is very true of that colour. Then we've got your blue with regards to the next one that we've got there, and then you've got your cream, and then finally your white. That makes it a little clearer, doesn't it? 2 Flexi buys, £22.50, very affordable. And whether it's you're working with your one day special fabrics or another quilt that you've already got, then of course you can take advantage of those and add them in as well. Flexi Order is all about spreading the cost. Now, if you're not familiar with Flexi Order, here is Catherine to tell you more.
What is Flexi Order? When you place an item on FlexiBuy in your basket, you qualify for Flexi Order, which means any other items you add to your basket will also be included in your FlexiBuy payments. So you can spread the cost over multiple monthly payments. After your first payment is made, your entire order will be dispatched. When you add at least £60 worth of any items to your shopping basket, either online or on the phone, you'll qualify for our Flexi Order offer. This means you can spread the cost of your order over equal monthly FlexiBuy payments, offering you extra flexibility when you shop with us. Flexi Order, making your shopping experience with the craft store easier.
The beauty is with these designs, you can use them in so many different ways. Bring the details back up for the one day special. And if you're looking for design inspiration, you can't go far wrong. Have a look at this. Now, this is a very contemporary style quilt that we've got
Isn't
here,
it
Jenny?
just? Yes. And it's entitled the Windmills Quilt, and you can see you've got your quarter circles there. It's got that sort of modern look to it. With that black background fabric, the solid there, gives those fabrics tremendous, it gives them a crisp edge, and it really does bring them out.
Very contemporary contemporary look, but then in contrast, if I open this up, and a very traditional style look.
Bear's paw. Oh, what is there not to like about bear's paw? Delightful block. Again, your half square triangles and your squares. Not a difficult block to do, but look at it with all those colours. Notice the sashing, and if you look at the sashing, it's just they put those cornerstones in there, just as a little bit of added extra within the sashing to complement the design.
Isn't it beautiful? And it's not miles away from the maple leaf that you were showing us earlier on.
No, it isn't, no.
So it's another kind of twist on that style, as Jenny said, using your complete squares, using your half square triangles, and creating some absolutely amazing so you can see whether you're going down the contemporary route, whether you're going down the traditional route, these fabrics are going to look amazing and so easy to work with. Now, of course, we were talking about the fat quarters, but we have got them available as half-metre pieces as well. So if you're wanting to go down that route, then we're just going to bring the details up for you. So again, absolutely gorgeous fabrics. And these are beautiful, maybe if you wanted to use, I mean, you could actually use these as things like sashing if you wanted to, couldn't you?
Absolutely. In fact, on the bag that I made, I'm afraid I used a half-metre as the lining. I know, I havered over it, thought, oh, shall I put any old thing inside? No, if you're going to have make a nice bag, give it a nice lining.
That's true, because you're going to see the lining yourself,
yes,
aren't you?
Of course
so
you
a bit
are.
of self-indulgence, why not? And again, it's just a lovely array of different colours and picking out lots of colours. So it's going to work with so many of those other fabrics that you've got within your stash. Now, when you're choosing your pick and mix, let me show you how you do it online. Of course, our call operators can help you with this if you're placing your order on the phone lines. But here you've got all those different gorgeous colours. I love the rose petal purple there. Absolutely beautiful. I can't say this as elegantly and as proficiently as our lovely Jennie. You've got your rose petal there. Oh, you've got your sangria oak shadows in there, your cosmic clover. Oh my word, what beautiful phrases we've got going with these. Gorgeous colours there, your melon, cosmic clover. And I'm supposing that with some of these, you're kind of getting a repetition of design, because we're seeing that cosmic clover phrase.
Yes.
It's kind of repeated throughout.
Yes. She might well be also running out of name ideas. So.
There's some fabulous names there. Wonderful. That's
so when you come to do it, you hit the plus sign for as many as you happen to want.
Exactly, that's it. So if you're wanting to go for 2 pieces of the same, now I don't know whether they will come as a complete metre piece. We're going to assume that they are pre-cut. So if they do come together, that's a bit of a bonus. But to be honest, most times you're going to be cutting them up, especially if you're creating a quilt. So assume that they will come as half-metre pieces, and then if they do come together, it's a bit of a bonus. Now, I can't believe I'm telling you this, Jenny. We've only got about 15 minutes
right,
left.
well, I'm
going
to... oh, dear. Might have to wait for that spectacle case, that phone case. Or do you want me to do that?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, quick. Well, I was going to do this, which comes from the sew pieces.
You go with the flow.
I'll go with the flow. Well, having got it in front of me, I think I'm going to do this. Okay, so this can be done from 2 fat quarters. You'll need 1 fat quarter for the outside here, and I cut 9-inch squares. There's a further 9-inch square as a different colour underneath, so that came from an additional fat quarter. I'm simply working with smaller squares here just for speed and because I happen to have smaller squares to hand. The 4 squares that are the same colour need to be pressed in half, diagonally, corner to corner, opened out and pressed in half again. Nobody is to say, tell you what, I'll fold it in half diagonally and then do that, because the creases will not be in the same direction.
Okay.
Once you've pressed your fabric in half and in half again, you fold the piece of material into a rectangle, and then you can tuck in one side and you can tuck in the other side, and they tuck in because of the way you pressed it. All right.
It's a bit like fabric origami.
Exactly like fabric origami. Go inside there. You need to repeat this 4 times, and it's not a bad idea, having done that, to give it a quick press. I'll just flatten it with my fingers. Onto the backing square. Now, all these squares are all exactly the same size, and one of these pieces will fit along one side and just pin it in place. One of these ones being reluctant, I think I pressed it badly. Next one will go there. So make sure you get all the raw edges together and those points go to the center. The next one goes here. So this is from the Sew Pieces book.
Now, if you want to use Sew Pieces book, don't forget, it is listed under the show. It's only £9.99. So if you are adding that in alongside your one-day special and you're spreading the cost, it's only an extra £5. And of course, you're going to get all those fabulous projects that Jenny so regularly demonstrates during the course of the shows. And it gives you the ability to get the dimensions. We don't always get the chance to share the dimensions and all of the different steps with the process. So that's why getting hold of that book might be a good idea to add in alongside your one-day special fabrics.
Right, either by hand or on the machine, you just want to join the points together in the very centre. Now, I'm going to use a barbecue skewer, which is quite useful for sort of poking the points underneath the presser foot. And I'm going to sew forwards, across 2 points, go backwards, forwards again, swing the machine round to try and catch the other 2 points, drop your needle down, raise the presser foot. Do you mind raising? Thank you. And then I'll sew from the centre out to one side, reverse the machine back to the middle again, drop the needle down, raise the presser foot, twiddle the work round and sew the last point in place. So I'm doing really a cross stitch in the middle. If you preferred, you could do a small cross stitch by hand. You don't have to do it on the machine. Having done that, we're now going to do a spot of folding. And this is where you want to remember the letter F, F for fold.
Okay.
Because if you notice here, we've got 2 flaps. We're going to lift our first flap, flop our first flap over and finger press the crease. You will then refold the first flap so it lies flush with the crease on the front. Okie dokie. We're now going to take the first flap from the other side, lift it up, flop it over and fold it so both first flaps are now flush friends on the front.
Oh, that's a bit of a tongue twister. Flush friends on the front.
Move it round. Are we all watching? Right, lift the first flap, flop the first flap over, finger press the first flap, refold the first flap flush on the front and try and keep all the edges together. This has been done fairly quickly. And repeat with that other first flap. So if you notice, the first flaps are now flush friends on the front and they form a kite shape. Okay, you should be able to say this with me now. So first flap up, flop over, finger press, fold, first flap flush on front.
You've done that before, haven't you, Jenny?
Before, I have to confess. And ditto over there. And then finally, we're going to lift the first flap up, flop it over, finger press, fold, flush on front, add friend. And then you'll be able to say that you have
Kim's
finished.
trying to join in, but she's got us found as far as fold flap, and that's it.
What will basically happen now is you will sew all the way around the outside edge, but I just have to share with you one very silly story. Is having done this first flap, fold, flush on front, add first friend, etc., etc., you will have finished. You could then go few. I was taken to one side when I was in the classroom by somebody who pointed out to me that few didn't begin with an F. It's a PH for few. Forget it.
Oh, I thought you meant few as in not many.
No. When you've finished, you go few.
Fair enough.
Okay, right, back to the drawing board now. So having done all your first flap folding and flopping, all you now do is sew round the outside edge because these will all roll and they roll back, forming arc shapes, and this is how you achieve the design we have here. You simply roll them back and you get the arc shapes.
Absolutely
roll back
beautiful.
the folds, catch them down, add a border. You can do it with any size squares you like, but the Into the Woods designs really just lent themselves to. I just had to do something that was twiddling and fiddling with them.
And I love it. And we've got the fat quarters obviously available as the one-day special, but if you wanted to do repeats of these, so to make a whole series of cushions, then obviously you're going to need larger pieces of fabric, which is why you've got the ½ meters. And incidentally, the design that Jenny's just shared with us very, very briefly, you'll find it in her book, and we have got that available. Details at the bottom of your screen there, Sew Pieces, and you can see the details at the bottom. So by all means, pop that in alongside your fabrics. ½ meter fabrics obviously being the larger size, double the size naturally as your fat quarters. And of course, if you're wanting to repeat what Jenny's just shared with you over and over again to make a whole series of potentially cushion fronts, then do consider going for your ½ meters. If you're wanting to go for multiples of these, you can do. So if you want to go for 2, naturally that's going to be the equivalent of 1 meter, although we can't guarantee it will come as a 1 cut piece. You would potentially still get your 2 ½ meters. They would just be the same design. But of course, the beauty is dependent on where it's cut on the bolt, gives you that result. That's why if you're going for multiples of the fat quarters, you might not necessarily find you'll get two identical fat quarters, because obviously it's a quarter of that kind of metre length. So it could be top, bottom, left, right. We don't know where it's cut from the bolt, but what you have got is a beautiful cut of fabric that you can use in so many different ways. Now the details are hopping back on your screen with regards to your one day special, because that's where you're going to get your 16 fat quarters. They are absolutely beautiful, and coming from that Into the Woods by Katrinka, a gorgeous range of fabrics. The entire range covers 26 different fabrics. So the 16 that you've got on your screen there, alongside with the additional 8 from the autumnal section of those, which you can add in, and you can go for both of those together should you so choose. And then of course you can spread the cost over 2 payments as well. But it's not just about those kind of autumnal tones. You've got those gorgeous pinks and purples in there, which I can see you've got in front of you, Jennie.
I've got it, right. Okay, this is how to make a really quick phone case, okay? So I have got a piece of fluff, which is the length of my phone, or whatever you happen to do, plus enough to make a flap. You then want 2 pieces of fabric. One of the pieces of fabric, it pays to fold in half and just round the end off, so I will have a rounded end to my little bag. So we have backing fabric, wadding, top. You now need to make the pocket, and the pocket is whatever size you like. Now I had to stitch 2 pieces of fabric together because I was using up the scraps. The pocket also needs a piece of wadding.
And they're very forgiving when you actually piece them together, same to same.
Totally,
yeah,
absolutely. So we have our wadding, piece of fabric, pocket, piece of fabric rounded, everything goes right side down. I've nearly forgot the tab. Right, what I have done here to make a tab is, all I have done is set my machine on zigzag, taken some embroidery thread and just zigzag literally over the embroidery thread. Okay, and just closed up the zigzag.
Like a bit of couching.
Yeah, a bit of couching. And there is a nice little quick tab. So who's this for, Katie?
Kim.
Kim. Right, so Kim will actually have to stitch her own button on.
Oh, she can cope with that.
So I'm going to put the tab on at the top there, going down into the little bag, and I'll just stitch it, put a pin in it to hold it in place. Hopefully it'll be vaguely in the centre when I've actually finished.
Well, I know Kim's got a sewing machine, so she'll be itching to get started with this.
Right, okie dokie. I'm going to pin all the layers together, set my machine for doing round about 1/4 inch. I got these all in the right place, hope so. If not, we will soon find out. This also comes from sew pieces. It's a following on from the spectacle case. Right, again, so all of the layers all of the time. So down one side, 1/4 inch seam allowance.
Jennie, this is so good. I wasn't expecting to be able to get this during the course of the
Machine's just come unthreaded. Our top tip when it comes to threading up your machine is don't suck the thread, wet the eye of the needle. Because if you wet the eye of the needle, the thread will go through much more easily. If you lick your thread, it swells. Okay, so under here, because I've got a small stitch on top, let's go. Go on.
And this is why it's so important to keep those smaller cuts of fabric, even those smaller cuts of wadding. Don't just think of your wadding being for your large projects, for your large quilts. Every last little piece can be utilised in a different way, and that's what Jennie's showing us with this little project here. Now don't forget, Jennie is going to be back with us at 8 o'clock. Yanis is going to love these fabrics as well, and you've got such a wonderful array of different colours with these. I think that's the thing, whether you're into your greens, whether you're into your warmer tones, whether you're loving your pinks, your lilacs or your blues, each one of these fat quarter sets is just perfect. Now they are available as fat quarter sets, pieces of 4, so your greens, you've got your kind of orange tones, your pinks and your blues. They're available at the bottom of your screen if you wanted to go down that route, $15.99. But if you want to go for all 4 sets to give you the 16 pieces, then you have got the details of your one day special, and that's where you've got that premium price.
Okay, right, so I've sewn all the way round, down one side, round the end, back up the other side, leaving a hole. I'm going to turn it through the hole. Not quite finished yet, so don't panic. It will have a raw edge, but the raw edge will go. There's the little tab coming out there.
So that's the bit there, Kim needs to stitch a button in place and use that loop,
I haven't quite got to that yet. Right, so having turned it through the once, there is my raw edge at the bottom. All I'm going to do is sew along the raw edge. So back to the machine, sort the threads out. How many minutes have we got? Oh, all right.
Oh, you're okay. We've got about 3.5 minutes,
well, that's
Jennie.
right, I can sew slowly. Right, so sew across the bottom. Don't panic about it. It's all going to vanish. Right, trim off any excess.
Okay.
There we go. And all I'm going to do is to turn it through one more time. Or turn it inside out.
Well, we've got people avidly watching these. I can see these appearing at Christmas craft fairs all over the country.
Okay. And the principle can be made any size. You know, it just is. Right, poke the corners out well. And all it needs now is a quick press and a button on the front.
Fabulous.
All right? And it should, hopefully, take...
Look at that.
All right, so that's what you can do with your scraps. Now, I'm sorry, Kim, you're going to have to stitch your own button on there because I don't do buttons. All right.
I love it, Jenny. Thank you so much, and thank you from Kim as well. And just showing you, once you've actually got those fabrics left over from your main project potentially, there is so much more that you are going to be able to create with these, and that's the beauty of these fabrics. Doesn't matter whereabouts you're cutting that fabric from, you're going to get interest within that piece. It might almost be like a skeleton leaf that you've got that you'll see appearing, or it might be some of those gorgeous colour tones, that kind of wispiness that you'll get, almost like a batik effect with some of these as well. But again, you've got your 4 fat quarter bundles coming together within your one-day special, and that's saving. They are available in their sets of 4 at the bottom of your screen, and we have also got that gorgeous autumnal set, the last set of 8 that will completely fill that entire collection that we've been talking about. There are 24 different fabrics within the complete collection, and these last 8 will complete it. Now, there are lots of you that have been going for these 8 by themselves, and you can do, and it is a lovely array of different fabrics because you've kind of got the different colour groupings featuring in here. You've got your pinks, your purples, your greens, your teal tones within these. But some of these, I love this particular fabric. Where it's been cut, it almost looks like you're looking up through the canopy of the trees, and you've got that little gap where you can see the sunlight peeping through. Absolutely beautiful. And of course, each and every one of these are available if you wanted to go for the half-metre pieces as well. Now, Jenny, you are back with our lovely Yanis at 8 o'clock this evening. What can we look forward to?
We're going to do a bit of log cabin, so she's getting her words around there.
Oh, like that with the bag,
the log cabin like that. And also, I am going to do the bit of the bargello over there.
Fabulous.
All right, so that's what's coming up. And I shall still be wearing my posh frock.
And you will still be looking dapper in it as well.
Thank you.
I love it. It's always fabulous, isn't it, working with Jenny? She's just so creative. And of course, this one-day special is a beautiful one for you to work with in a whole host of different ways. Whether it's the main focal point of your project, like you can see with these wonderful maple leaves forming the blocks, which Jenny did show us at the top of the hour. So if you have just joined us, you can go back and watch that. Or maybe you're getting creative with your textile art and working with that bargello style. Well, you'll learn how to do that in the next hour. And of course, that's using some of those gorgeous solid tones that we have got on the show as well. And don't they look striking on that gorgeous backdrop, as you can see? It almost looks like blossoms around them. Beautiful. So you can see why this has been such a popular one-day special and collection. You've got the one-day special made up of your 16 fat quarters, but if you're wanting to complete it and make the full 24, which features in the whole collection from Katrinka, then you have got those available if you want to add in those additional 8, which are at the bottom of your screen there. Jenny, I have to say I've thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Ditto.
Can we do it all again at some point tomorrow?
We can indeed.
Why
not?
I will look forward to it. So make sure you join Jenny and Yanis at 8 o'clock. I'll see you after.